It is the perfect cozy summer day for a planner check-in. There are thunderstorms in the area. I can hear the thunder in the distance. The lighting is extra moody. I've got a cup of tea, so it's gonna be a good time. Go ahead and grab yourself a cozy beverage as well. And let's take a peek inside my common planner. So this is a Sterling Ink Common Planner in the size B6 Slim. It is a horizontal weeks setup and it is a compact version and is for the entire year. So I will have it linked down in the description if you're interested in checking it out. I do also have one of the clear covers on it that are also sold by Sterling Ink. This is a nice way to keep the planner extra protected. And my favorite part is that it allows you to put in your own customized cover. And as you can see, I went ahead and did that with my 2025 goals. And I really like how that turned out. It is a little bit reflective. As you can see, I can like wave hello in the reflection, but it doesn't bother me too much. But once we flip inside, let's go ahead and turn on a light so that you can see things a little bit better. All right, that is better. So when you flip to the first page, there are some pre-designed pages in the Common Planner in a very clean, sophisticated way. The first one is this year at a glance. On the blank page on the other side of the year at a glance, I did add a sticker of the cover that I created for this planner. This is essentially my goals in a visual format for 2025. And I like to do this every single year, basically create a vision board. As you can see, I have writing, being more active, creating more and less consuming, and of course, seeking first the kingdom of God, working on spending time in my Bible, having quiet time in the mornings, and some travel related images as well. And what's really important here is the idea that I am the author of 2025, and that also is a play on writing my book, and the fact that I get to decide where my time goes. That has been something that I am kind of repeating to myself this entire year, that we all have the same amount of time and it's up to us to prioritize it and decide where our time goes. And I'll let you be the judge as we get through the rest of these pages on how I'm doing with these goals. The next entry for me is a future log. Now, this is a blank spread that you can do whatever you want with in your Common Planner, and I decided to turn mine into a basic future log where I have 6 months on each side, and I just went ahead at the beginning of the year and wrote in some of the main activities, events, birthdays that I knew would be upcoming throughout the year. And I did want to mention that all of these really beautiful, simple headers for the months are part of a printable sticker kit available on my Patreon. It is very cleverly called the Months Printable Sticker Kit. And basically, you get all different headers like this in different colorways, as well as some diagonal headers, which I have been using in my month in review pages, in my monthly journals. So go ahead and check that out. I'll have it linked down below. The next entry that is built into the Common Planner is this goals layout, which essentially has a blank space, and then across you have different columns broken down into someday, 1 year, half year, and then quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily. As you can tell, I have not yet used the right side. At the beginning of the year, I went ahead and basically took the goals that I had put on the cover into a who am I becoming format. So, who do I want to be? I am a writer honing her craft, a believer who loves the word, an active person getting stronger every day, a planner who gets things done, a creative who creates for herself and others, not an algorithm, and a great wife and friend. So those were kind of my priorities for this year of who I want to be. And then what I did is I broke that down into things I want to achieve related to that thing someday, what I want to do within this year, so 1 year, and then what I want to achieve by the half year point. And I don't even want to look at the half year point, honestly, because I don't think I have achieved most of the things I set out for myself for the half year. The next entry is the yearly tracker, and I translated each of these who I'm becoming goals into a color. And then basically each day I filled in one or two colors that I felt I spent the most time on in that day. So if I was working towards being a writer that day or spent a lot of time with friends or my husband, I might color in those two colors. If it was mostly just a creative day, I would fill in that color. And I kept that up for the first month of the year, as you can see. But I kind of reached the end of the month and had to ask myself, is this something I really envision keeping up with for the entire year? And is it something that would add a lot of value for me to look back on? And honestly, I think the answer to those questions was no. And so I just stopped doing it. And I think that's okay. Let that be a lesson to you. You can set something up, you can have good intentions, and it's okay to check in with yourself, as I am doing right now with my mid year check in, and ask yourself, is this actually going to serve me well, or is it just a fun idea for an entry? All right, the next entries are our quarterlies, and these are set up as quarterly trackers so that you have a page on the left where it is broken down as your priorities, and then you have January, February, March. And then what I did is I divided these horizontal rows into three columns. So the first column is where I wrote in my priorities for that month and for the quarter as a whole. And then I tracked at the end of the month what I thought I did successfully towards those priorities and what I need to improve on going forward. And so this has been a pretty handy setup for me, I would say. I have been really enjoying setting up my main priorities for a given quarter and then thinking about how each month is leveling up to those same priorities. And then the idea of going back and kind of tracking for yourself, okay, where did you succeed and where did you maybe fall a little short and would want to improve going forward are just good things to ask yourself. Over on the right side, then, is a monthly tracker for each month. You can use this in all different ways, but I decided to make this a monthly habit tracker that actually mimics my weekly trackers. I've been tracking the same things for the entire year so far. And what I've been doing with these is just filling it out at the end of each week based on my weekly trackers, and then tallying up at the bottom how many times I did that activity, that habit, that month. So this has just been a nice way to check in with myself. And one thing that I have also been doing is you can see these little blue marks next to some of the days, and those are the days where I actually did all of the habits. And there are very few, only because the one habit I've been extremely bad at. So it's been very rare that I have had days where I did all habits just because of that one habit. If I took out that one habit, then I would have a lot more blue boxes. But as it goes, I am trying to be honest with myself, and the fact is, if my priority is writing, which I have been saying for this year and for multiple years before this one, then I need to consider that in how I am tracking my success. And the fact is, I've not been successful in writing except for a very few days out of the year so far. And so there are very few blue boxes. And when you tally up my writing columns at the end of each month, they are pretty pitiful. And then same thing for quarter two. I have been tallying them up. I was really determined at the end of May to get back into a habit, or not even get back into one, to start a writing habit, and was doing pretty well. But then I went on my trip to the Galapagos and everything fell to the wayside again. So now we're back. It's the end of June. It's the end of the first half of the year. And I am really praying and hoping that I can turn a new leaf and actually make it the priority like I say it should be. All right, so we'll see if that becomes true for quarter three. I haven't set that up yet. So after you get through your quarterlies, that is where then the monthly entries begin. And I enjoy setting up my monthlies, but I honestly don't really reference them very often throughout the month as I'm then creating my weeklies. It's more an exercise to kind of put everything down on paper that I know is going to be happening that month at the beginning and have a direction for myself and just a little bit more clarity. So I like to set up my goals for the month, has been kind of the key theme of how I've been using the side columns. And then I've also been setting up what videos I think I want to film and a list of all of my Patreon activities that need to happen. And then otherwise, it's just all of the events and things that are happening in my life. So that has been the case for each of these months. A lot of these stickers that you're seeing on here are ones from my monthly sticker kits that I put out last year. They are super, super helpful for using for your monthly setups, as well as documenting your months. And they're pretty evergreen, so definitely recommend checking those out. And you get access to all of them when you become a patron. But I've just continued to use them into this year to help decorate my monthlies in my planner. One thing I really like to do for my monthlies is when I have something that is happening over multiple days, I like to use a strip of washi and then write the title of that thing over top. So I had a wedding, I had a backpacking trip, I had a staycation. So those all get called out using the washi strip. And then we have June, our final month of the first half of the year. You can see I have my Patreon list. I have YouTube, which you are well aware likely that I haven't had a video basically all of June. And it's just been difficult given that I was away on vacation for our trip to Ecuador and the Galapagos, which was fantastic. I can't wait to share with you a travel vlog and to share with you my travel journaling from the experience. And then I had vacation days after, but I was sick for a lot of it. So I just haven't been feeling very well. I'm back to myself now, but that is why the YouTube column is blank currently. So those are the monthlies, and obviously we then have more monthlies for the next half of the year that will get filled in as 2025 continues. And then we turn the page, and this is where we get into the main part of what I love about the Common Planner. And so I've been setting these up pretty much the same way since the beginning of the year. And that is to divide the left side page into two columns. And I have the left column where I write in the meals for each dinner, because that's kind of our main meal for the day. I don't plan out breakfast and lunch. It's just whatever happens that day happens. but dinners I do plan out in advance, and I like to keep track of what we're having for dinner. So I fill those in, and then I also fill in my workout or exercise or just how I'm moving my body that day. So whether that is going on a run or as simple as a walk or doing a Nourish Move Love workout, which is my favorite workout programs on YouTube, highly recommend. That all gets recorded in here. And I've kind of been alternating whether they are in the box or in the highlighted section. I basically just divide it that way. And then on the right side is where I have been writing in my events for the week. And you'll see that that then also evolves into having a priority for the day. And then I was doing kind of like a mini to-do list for the day, my top 3 to 4 priorities. And you'll see that as we go on. And then on the right side, that is where I have my task list and my habit trackers. And the habit trackers are ones that I have available. I wanted habit trackers for myself so I didn't have to draw them each time. So I created these little habit trackers that you can write in your own habits for each week. It goes Monday through Sunday, and then you just fill in the little bubbles with the habits that you are tracking. And they come in all different colors, so that way you can also make them work for whatever your design is for that week's spread. Same basic components every single week. And I usually like to have a little bit of a decorative element. Really do enjoy having some of those just small decorative moments on the page. This is a good example that when I go away, and obviously I'm not really keeping track of my meals or exercise or don't really have to-do lists, I like to do different things. In this case, I decided to just box off the days that I was going to be away, and I did a little brief journaling recap of our time away. The next week, it's pretty bare bones, probably a more busy week for me where I didn't feel like I had a lot of time for planning, but I have my this week and then a little next week section. Here, I added in some H's and O's for working in the home office or in the work office. And this has been nice, so I might bring that back. I kind of do it every so often. Here is another example of going away for a long weekend, this time to the Adirondacks, and I again have some decorative elements and a little bit of memory keeping journaling, another to-do list and habit tracker. Again, all of the really fun decorative elements. Here we are in the start of March, and this is when I started actually breaking my to-do list into a personal list and a business list. And if you own a small business, if you do any kind of side hustle thing, I highly recommend this. Here is one where I created this spread actually as part of my spring vlog video. And I added a spring cleaning checklist. So I had house and garden cleaning broken down. So if I bring in a larger to-do for the week, like spring cleaning, I might create a whole separate list and divide that in a different way. This time I added 4 main priorities, and this might be something to bring back because I kind of like the idea, since I always have a ridiculous running to-do list that is impossible to actually achieve in a week. I like the idea of maybe continuing to break down a top 3 or 4 items for the week of things I need to get done. And then I can go to the rest of the to-do list to fill in the gaps. I really like the aesthetic of this entry, dividing some of the sections with washi, some of the decorative elements. I think most of these are from Obujo. And then I also, again, have the different highlighted sections for some of my events and main activities. And this time, moving more into the top 3 priorities for each day. This is one of my favorite entries from April. I love the spring vibes. All of the stickers I used are from the washi tape shop. I shared the washi tape haul that I had here on my channel and absolutely love playing with these stickers. So if you are interested in what you're seeing here, definitely check out that haul. Here's an example where I didn't use one of my habit trackers, but instead just wrote in the habit trackers with some nice highlighter. And this is a very easy setup that anybody can do with 2 different highlighter colors. And although this is a very simple thing, I really liked adding this cute little dumbbell illustration next to the workouts, just as a fun way of indicating what it is in that space. Although I don't do this every single week, I also really like adding a swatch of highlighter in every other space to help distinguish the different items from the previous one and just makes it easier to check them off when you organize it in that way. Another thoughts section. Don't forget to pack, which is often something I do when I am going away for a trip. As you can see here, we have a backpacking weekend, and I used a big strip of washi to just kind of X out those days that I didn't really have any planning to do because we were going to be out in the woods. And my to-do list is a little bit shorter, and then I use the extra space for a packing list. But as you can see, I really honed in on a setup that works well for me and just continue to use it over and over again with some minor tweaks. Here you can see me bringing in more of a daily to-do list setup with a top 3 or 4 priorities. And then we get to the week that I was away, and this is the only week, I think, for this year so far that I was away for the entire week. And so instead of using it to write in to-do lists and things that wouldn't really make sense, I decided to just write in a fun little quote, I guess, to myself saying, I can't come to the planner right now. I'm in the Galapagos. Leave a message and I'll get back to you next week. And then beep, as if it's a voicemail message because I'm so clever and isn't that cute? So I just decorated it with a few little beachy stickers, and this was my way of memory keeping, telling myself I'm in the Galapagos. Because I plan on doing so much travel journaling for this, I didn't feel like I needed to also journal about the trip in my planner. And so for me, it made sense to just do a little message like this to indicate why the week is blank. I was sick for most of this week, and so the to-do list is very short. It's really just focused on the idea of resting. And then this is the current week that we are in right now, and it is all about trying to get back into some rhythms. So I brought back my trackers for working out. I have my events for the day. I have my little mini to-do list, personal, business. And then I added in this time a kind note to myself, a different little habit tracker because I need to print out more of my own section for next week. And then I am currently trying to get in the habit of doing morning pages as part of the Artist Way. And so I added this additional little habit tracker just for the morning pages. So that is all of the weeklies, maybe a little bit more in depth than I needed to be, but I really wanted to give you a sense of how I've been using them and hopefully gave you some ideas for your own weekly pages as we head into the next half of this year. And then finally, I do want to share with you very quickly a look at the back pages, which are these blank pages. There are 120 of them in the compact version of the Common Planner. And I honestly have not been using them as much as I would like. This is something going into the next half of the year that I want to be a lot less precious about and just use the pages for whatever makes sense. This is the first time I think that I've ever used an index and actually wrote down what's on that page and the page number. It's been working really well for me, and it'll be really helpful if I get to the point where I do have most of the pages full. So my first pages are focused on some habits that I want to establish. So I have this Bloom with Grace page, and then each of these little bullets is one of the habits I want to focus on, like no shorts or scrolling, use social media with intention, choose reading or journaling over TV, just some examples. And then I have my 25 in 2025 list, and this is a list of 25 items with a few still blank that I can add to in the next half of the year. And I color coded them with a little key. So I have items on this list that are life admin, like sell at least 5 items, meet with a financial advisor. I have home projects in here, like plant bushes in the yard, which we did get to check off this spring, and painting our hallway. Experiences like go camping or backpacking, which we also got to check off. Creativity, like editing my Grand Canyon Rim to Rim vlog, which is available on my channel. Would love for you to check it out if you are interested in traveling or hiking, or just interested in seeing how I spend my time outside of YouTube. It would mean so much to me if you gave that video a watch. And then the final category is skill or miscellaneous. And that includes things like learning how to set up a top rope for rock climbing, or learning more than 100 new words in Spanish. So I really liked this layout and setup. I like having the key and categories, and I think this is a spread I'm going to continue to do in future years. This is a spread of just some good thoughts and highlights from a video that I watched on YouTube about a book called The Courage to Be Disliked. My next entry is a writing tracker, and I only created this at the end of May, like I said, when I was trying to get back into writing, since it's been so miserably bad for this entire year so far. So I'm glad that I have the writing tracker now, and hopefully you are going to see this all filled up by the end of 2025. Speaking of writing, I also have this page that is for writing sprints when I'm just doing like 20-minute, 30-minute sessions. On this side is one of the B6 Slim versions of our monthly bucket list. If you are not familiar, we are creating monthly bucket lists together over on Patreon as part of the monthly journaling club. And the whole idea is that we are committed to making this a year to remember by setting ourselves up for success by creating bucket lists of things we want to do to make it a memorable month. And so this gives you a little snapshot of what those have been looking like. And as you can see, January was a pretty good month for me. I checked a lot of the items off. Okay, this next entry is a fun one. This is a aerial view of my garden, of the backyard. So I basically did a really light sketch of our backyard when I was trying to plan for our landscaping ventures this spring, because we didn't have bushes here or here or here or here, and I was trying to figure out what we should plant there, and I wanted to figure out the spacing, so I had kind of spacing guides for myself to help me figure out how many bushes we needed. And once I was done with that, I decided to color it in just a fun representation of what our backyard looks like. And then the next page, you can see I have our landscape shopping list, as I was trying to figure out what we would need to fill in those spaces. And then the next few pages are actually just running checklists of things I want to do in the different areas of my house. I think having a breakdown room by room where you can just add your big ideas or just those nagging projects to a list is just a handy thing to have, because a lot of times I was just trying to keep all of these little projects and ideas in the back of my mind. and it was nice to get them all on paper, and there's plenty of space to add as new projects and ideas come to mind. So there's one for the dining room, the living room, the bathroom, the bedroom, our library office, some of the things I want to do in there. My studio, of course, I really want to make some of these things happen so I can then do a little studio craft room tour for you guys. And then I think we're nearing the end here. This is again some takeaways from a video that I watched about reclaiming your evenings. And this is something that I've been thinking a lot about, is how to just make better use of my time. Again, one of my focuses for 2025 is I get to decide where my time goes. And the evenings are definitely an area where it feels like you're not in control, like time is running away from you. And this is my way of reminding myself of how I can reclaim my evenings. And so on the right side, I created a list of evening activities that would make me feel like I was having a successful evening, where I was doing something more productive than watching TV or scrolling. So I've just created a list of activities like reading a book, Bible study, journaling, planner time, organizing something, painting or drawing, going for a walk or hike somewhere different than just around the neighborhood, having a slow dinner together and really enjoying conversation. So just some examples from my own list, but would highly recommend making a list of activities in your own planner or journal of what it is that brings you joy and makes you feel like you have had a meaningful evening. And then the final entry that I have in here so far, halfway through the year, is a brain dump essentially of things that I can't do yet. It doesn't actually make sense for me to do it anytime super soon, but hopefully they will happen in the near future. And so I divided this into personal and business as well. Basically, this is where I am dumping things that I keep putting on my weekly to-do lists, but migrate multiple times because it just actually doesn't make sense to do anytime very soon. And so once I've migrated it multiple times to a new week, it's kind of an indicator to me that this isn't actually something that I need to get done right now. And so I move it to the not yet, but hopefully soon. And that way, each week I can reference this list as well and see if there's anything that I want to move back onto my weekly list, if maybe it makes more sense for that week to get one of these items done. So that means halfway through the year, I am on page 25 of the pages available in the back, and I have essentially a little shy of 100 more that I could fill in for the second half of the year. So as I said, I'm hoping to be a little bit less precious about these pages and just really use them for notes, kind of like a commonplace book. As things interest me, use them as scratch sheets, just not getting super precious and actually making use of the planner. So I hope that you have enjoyed this flip through and gained a sense of how I've been using the Common Planner and how my year is going so far in terms of my habits and everything that I'm working towards. Certainly, I need to give myself some credit. I've been good with exercise. We have set up, some great travel experiences. I've been spending a lot of time with friends and family and being with my husband. So when I see those goals like my writing or making a ton of progress in Bible study not really happening, I need to give myself a little bit of grace. And so if you're in that position too, where you're looking at the fact that we are halfway through the year and you're looking at those goals that you set up at the beginning of 2025 and asking yourself where the time has gone and feeling a little down on yourself for not making more progress towards your goals, I just want to encourage you that I'm right there with you, and every day is an opportunity and a new start. and we do get to decide where our time goes for the next 6 months of this year. So let's together take a moment to recenter ourselves, hit the reset button, look at our goals for 2025, ask if they are still our goals. Is this the direction that we want to be heading in? Who are we becoming? I want to be a part of your journey, and if you want to follow me along in my journey, I would love to have you hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below letting me know where you're at mid-year, how you're using the Common Planner if you have one, if you've gained any ideas from what I've done or have any ideas to share with me. I would love to hear them. I'm so grateful for this community. I'm so grateful for all of my patrons who make this happen. Again, all of the stickers I shared are available on my Patreon. Would love for you to consider joining our community. And let's go out and make the next 6 months of 2025 the best yet. And if close to an hour of Common Planner content wasn't enough for you, then I would encourage you to check out this video next for even more inspiration in how I use the Common Planner.